1, 0. Ignition, liftoff, Semper Fi, aim high.
You were saying that there's people that were breaking the rules and that they were serving something different than what you were expecting. Mm-hmm. What were they serving?
I think many cases they're serving a selfishness and elements within our government, and they were serving a corrupted culture that was created. And we can define it with different words, but it's a corrupted culture in our government that was created not in a moment of a few months, the spying on the campaign or the spying on the transition or the spying that was done in the government once in this case President Trump took over in 2017. That corrupt culture wasn't created in a period of a year. It evolved over certainly a decade, maybe longer. And so that corrupted culture that exists right in the inside this sort of circle of the Beltway that we're almost in the middle of right now, that culture is what was being served. And there are people, there are definitely people inside of that culture that are leading and enabling that culture. And I won't go into the names of those people. Everybody that watches this, can go dig them up, or certainly they know who I'm talking about. And that culture is a culture of unaccountability and above it all. And that's dangerous to a constitutional republic that is supposed to have absolute respect for the rule of law. And again, going overseas in many places and talking to foreign allies, partners, other countries that I've been in, we talk to them about our rule of law, and you should be more like us. Okay? That's a very, very serious thing, and we've been doing that for a long time because we believe in America as this land. That's why we don't have all these illegal immigrants coming here because it's a lousy place to come to. It's a great place to come to, and they're knocking on the doors of embassies around the world to try to get here, or they're getting here however they get here. Not because it's a lousy place to come to, it's because it's this land of hope and opportunity. But now we have this egregious behavior in the highest levels of our government and because the culture of those institutions shifted, like I said, not in 6 months or a year. It shifted over a long period of time, and now it's exposed. So I pray that there is an accounting of behavior, of inappropriate behavior, and it's criminal behavior in some cases. But I pray that there's an accounting of that. Certainly, if not not here on Earth, then it'll be accounting somewhere else. And I believe that.
Compared to what I guess the American people can see right now, or what's been exposed, how deep do you think this goes? How much more is there?
Well, I believe it goes very deep. I believe it goes very deep into the various institutions. I think that when you hear comments from some people in your world and media world that go, 99.9% are great people. Well, you don't have the top be lousy and then everybody else around them is great people. So I think that the depth and the culture of an institution defines an institution. Okay, the type of behavior that you want to have in your institution will define that institution. It's just like saying when you walk in to see me, I want to treat you like I like to be treated, right? The golden rule. That's simple. And when you're not treated that way, that's especially when we're talking about the rule of law and abusing the rule of law, then that's a really dangerous thing for a constitutional republic that has the rule of law as one of its foundations, as one of the fabrics of it. So I say deep because when you look around at the various institutions that I'm talking about, there's always a depth of, and there's different levels of it in different places. Maybe Washington, D.C., everybody calls it the swamp, right? I mean, maybe in Washington, D.C., the institutions that we have evolved into something that is now sort of not recognizable to, the way they were maybe 15, 20 years ago, or certainly they're not recognizable to the way they were in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, the institutions have evolved in this country, and there's a variety of reasons why they've evolved, whether it's war, whether it's, just the way the inertia of government does. But that inertia has created a culture in a couple of different institutions that is no longer a viable culture to operate alongside a constitution that has evolved but is still the fabric of our country. And when people operate outside of that fabric, they're doing damage to the fabric of the Constitution. When they're not held accountable, they're doing damage to the fabric of the Constitution. So it's like threads, right? And they're pulling these threads constantly, and until the American public see somebody getting back in there and stitching that Constitution back together, we have a problem. And I could give you examples of problems around the country and certainly around the world, down a notch or two, right? I don't want to believe that the institutions are bad all the way to the bottom, but I think that the top sets the example, and the example that has to be set has to be one of service to nation, etc., and some of the things we've already talked about. And I think that's how you begin to shift, not back, but forward into a place where there is greater respect for these institutions. The lack of confidence and, frankly, the loss of respect for branches of government, and certainly our rule of law institutions and our intelligence system, parts of it, the lack of confidence and lack of respect is not healthy. It's unhealthy for the type of country that we are and that we want to be. We cannot have that. We cannot have the American people who pay for everything. The American people give us everything. When you're talking about government, we don't exist without the American people. So we have to not stop, or we have to remind ourselves that we work for the American people. We don't work for the institution. And that idea has, to me, has been lost. I think that our military, in fact, I'm certain that our military still has that strong sense of themselves and who they actually work for. But I think that a lot of these other bureaucratic institutions forget who they work for. They really do. And that goes, Jan, that goes down to state and to some local levels, cities, communities, other communities, where people are in government and they forget that they actually work for the people that are paying their salaries. I mean, that's the system that we have. And in order for us to maintain that system, everybody in what I'm talking about, and people will go, geez, how do you solve that? Well, it's like solving global warming. It's like solving, something that is unsolvable. But how do we manage it? We manage it by leadership at the right levels, at the highest levels of our government, to include the President of the United States, constantly reminding ourselves who it is that we work for. And I think that doesn't happen enough. In fact, I know it doesn't happen enough, and that includes the President. That includes the leaders of various institutions in the executive branch. That includes leaders, quote-unquote leaders, in the legislative branch of government, certainly Congress. And I think in the judiciary, the judiciary has to remember that, especially lifetime appointments, they always, you never hear much from them. You never hear much from the judiciary unless they rule from the bench, right? And I think that there are times when, and they do this, but they do it maybe in the think tank discussions around Washington, D.C., maybe not enough out to the people of this country so that the people of this country can see the judiciary, because it's a really powerful branch, all the way up to the chief, to the justices of the Supreme Court. They have to speak to the American public more routinely. And the reason why? Because the lack of trust that the American people has in those things, right? And those institutions. And I think that we need to reinstitute some type of means to bring trust back into our country between we the people and we the government.
A theme that's sort of emerging to me and everything you're talking about is accountability. And I want to talk about that momentarily. But before we do that, I really want to get your kind of, I guess, bird's eye view from someone who's been in, military intelligence for a very, very long time, maybe not recently, but what are the outside threats to America? What are the big issues that America needs to concern itself with?
The biggest issue, I believe, the biggest issue is protecting our economic engines within this country. That's the biggest issue. We have to protect the innovation and the economic system that we have in order to maintain a prosperity for this country. And as we have seen, especially in the last 4 years, we've seen all these things pop up, like being energy independent is a big deal. So the economic system that we have to make sure that we balance that economic system and keep it very powerful and protect it and not abuse it. That's sort of in a 100,000 foot level, down to the 60 or 50,000 foot level. There are clear competitors and adversaries on the world stage today that have a completely different political system than us, and they believe that their political system is better than ours, and they have plans over time to dominate, to basically dominate both the economic systems and the political systems of the world.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.